guys, welcome to my channel. My name's Anna. Today's video is going to be a makeup tutorial using just drugstore products. So everything that you see in this video you'll be able to pick up at either Target, Walmart, Walgreens, pretty much any drugstore. So I picked up everything that you need for a full face of makeup. So if you guys want to see what I come up with, then just keep watching. So for my primer today, I'm using the Maybelline Master Prime. It's just a clear one. I guess it's the number 400. So I'm going to rub it between my fingers just to warm the product up a little bit. And I'm going to start off by applying it to my cheeks, my forehead, my nose, and my chin. So pretty much just my T-zone. That's where I'm going to focus most of the primer. And then whatever I have left over, I'm going to spread through the rest of my face. So after spreading it through my face, I'm just going to let it sink into my pores a little bit while I get my foundation ready. Okay, and for foundation, I'm going to be using the COVERGIRL TruBlend Matte Made Foundation, and it's in the shade L30, which is Golden Ivory. Let's see, I'm going to shake it before I use it. I'm going to pour some in the back of my hand first. And then I'm going to dot it all over my face. Alright, and now that it's all over my face, I'm going to use a Real Techniques face and body sponge to blend it in. So I'm just going to pounce it around my skin just to work the product into my pores and make sure that it blends seamlessly. I'm also going to drag it down my neck so there's no harsh line. And I love this sponge because it's, as you see, it's really huge, so it blends in the product so easily and so quickly. I'm also going to put some on my eyelids just to neutralize the area. And the same thing on the other side. So drag it down my neck. And over my eyelids on this side as well. And I really like to take my time blending it in and making sure that it's all blended evenly. So it might take a little bit if you really want it to get right. Okay, and now that I've blended it into my skin, I'm going to move on to concealer. Let's see. And for concealer, I picked up the Makeup Revolution Conceal and Define in the shade C1. It might be a little too light for me, and if it is, I have here the NYX HD Studio Photogenic Concealer, and this one is in the shade CW04. So if I find that the Makeup Revolution concealer is too light, I'll just put some of the NYX one on the edges just to make it a little darker. Right, so I'm going to do it under my eyes in the upside down triangle. So just gonna do it like that. Now to the other eye. I'm also gonna put it on my inner corners, just to lighten up that area as well as my chin, Cupid's bow, and a little bit on my forehead. And just in case that is a little bit too light, I'm just going to add this to the very corners. This is the tiniest bit. Oops, I didn't put too much there. Just so it's not so drastic. And I'm going to be using the same Real Techniques sponge to blend it all together. So I like to start on the other parts of my face first, and then I do my under eye area last. Wow, that's actually really brightening. Also going to put it over my nose, whatever is left over, just for extra coverage. As well as my eyelid area, just to prep for my eyeshadows. Right, and now that that is blended together, I'm going to set my concealer. And to set my concealer, I'm going to be using the Maybelline Fit Me Loose Finishing Powder in the shade 10 Fair Light. And I'm going to apply that with a Morphe M536 brush. Let's see. I'm going to pour some of the product into the lid. Before I go in with the concealer, I'm just going to go with one final tap to make sure that I'm not going to be setting any product into the creases. And now I'm just going to and I'm also going to set my lid area. I'm going to do the same thing to the other eye, just make sure that I'm not setting the creases. Wow, this product is very brightening. So I'm going to have to go over it with my face powder, just so it's not so stark bright down there. So I'm just setting all the areas where I applied the concealer. I am going to set the rest of my face, but I'm going to use another powder for that. Okay, and now that I've set my concealer, I'm going to set the rest of my face. And to do so, I'm going to be using the Maybelline Fit Me Set and Smooth powder in the shade 125 Nude Beige. And to apply it, I'm going to use the Wet n Wild. It doesn't have a number on it, but it's just a big powder brush. And I'm going to just dip it into the powder and apply it to all of my face. And to apply it, I'm just going to pounce it around. I don't want to swipe it because then it's going to move the foundation that I work so hard on. I'm also going to put it under my eye to blend it in with my concealer. And hopefully it would lighten it up a little bit so it's not so bright under there. Also going to drag it down my neck just to make sure that everything is even. Okay, so now that my foundation and my concealer are both set, I'm going to add a little more color into my skin. And to do so, I'm going to use the Essence Sun Club Matte Bronzing Powder for lighter skin. And I'm going to apply it with the Sonia Kashuk brush in number 100. So I'm just going to dip it in and just rub it on the top there just to blend it into the brush. And just apply it to my face to bronze up the skin. I'm also going to apply it on my jawline and drag it down my neck. So pretty much everything that I do to my face, I drag it down my neck. Alright, and now that the skin is nice and bronzed, I'm going to move on to contour. And I'm going to be using the e.l.f. Prime and Stay Finishing Powder in the shade Medium Dark. I don't think it's actually a bronzy or contour powder, but should get the job done. So I'm going to apply it with the e.l.f. highlighting brush. I just like the shape of it. It's kind of a dome shape, so it should be able to get into my cheekbones easily. Just put a little bit on the brush, and I'm just going to apply it to the hollows of my cheek. And I'm doing so really lightly. I'm barely applying any pressure when I'm applying the product. So it just chisels out the cheekbones a little bit and gives a little more definition to the face. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm also going to apply a little bit of the product on the temples, on my forehead, just to deepen up that color there. And I don't really contour my nose, but I do like to apply a little bit of whatever shade I use for my contour, just so it's not blank and it doesn't really go with the rest of my face. So I'm just going to put a little bit of the same e.l.f. Powder on the same highlighting brush, and I'm just going to put a little bit on the sides of my nose just to give it a little bit of color. So it's not really an intense contour. It's just giving it a little bit of definition. I'm also going to put some under my lip here. Okay, and now I'm just going to clean up my contour a little bit, and I'm going to be using the same loose finishing powder that I used to set my concealer, and I'm going to apply it with the Morphe E49. So I'm just going to dip it in there and kind of clean it up. Right. And I don't really let that set in, so I'm going to go back to the same brush that I used before just to kind of wipe it off. Okay, and now I'm going to apply my blush, and I'm going to be using, let's see, the Wet n Wild Color Icon in the shade Mellow Wine. It's a really pretty dark mauve color, so I don't really apply a lot of the product. I just kind of dip it in there lightly, and then I swirl it around on the actual top that it comes in. And I'm just going to apply those of my cheeks very lightly, just to give it a nice flush of color. And then I'm going to blend everything together with the Morphe M406. It's just a dual fiber brush. I'm just going to swirl it around, make sure everything blends seamlessly. Okay, and I'm pretty much just going to finish my face now, so I'll go ahead and highlight my skin. And to highlight, I'm going to be using the Wet n Wild MegaGlo highlighting powder in the shade 333B, which is Golden Flower Crown. It's a really pretty champagne gold color, and I'm going to apply it with the Morphe 501 brush, and I'm just going to focus it here to the high points of my cheeks. Wow, that is pretty intense. This is honestly one of my favorite highlighters, like between high-end, drugstore, anything. I find myself always reaching for this one because that glow is just too nice. Right, and I'm also going to apply some up here. Just whatever is left over on the brush. It's not really adding any product. And my Cupid's bow. And just a bit on the tip of my nose and up on the top. And I do like to go back to that big dual fiber brush and just blend everything together, as well as my nose, just a little bit. Alright, so the skin is pretty much done, so I'm gonna go ahead and move on to the eyes. And I picked up a few eyeshadow palettes here. Well, they're both from Wet n Wild. So I have here the Wet n Wild Rosé in the Air, as well as the Wet n Wild Comfort Zone palette. I also have this trio from NYX. Does it have a shade? It doesn't really have a name. It just has 3 pretty neutral colors. So I'll use the NYX one just in case I want to deepen up the corners of my eyes just a little bit more, because the other 2 Wet n Wild palettes don't really have a really dark brown or black or anything like that. So that's just in case. I will try to focus mostly on the Wet n Wild palettes because they really are just stunning. So I'm going to try to zoom you guys in here just so you can have a better look of my eyes. Alright, so now that you're zoomed in, I'm going to start off with applying a transition shade. And I'm going to go in first to the Comfort Zone palette. And I'm going to apply the transition shade that's all the way at the top. That's kind of an orangey brown, really warm shade. And to apply that, I'm going to be using the Sigma E40. So I'm going to dip it in there, and I'm going to start off by just applying it above my crease, and that way when I apply all the other shades they will blend in a lot easier. So I apply the product little by little because it is a lot easier just to go back in and apply more product than it is to try to diffuse it and blend it out, because it doesn't always blend out. I really like this brush because it's really big and fluffy, so it disperses the product and blends it out really easily. So that is pretty good. Now I'm going to move on to the other eye and just do the same thing. And when I'm blending this in, I'm just using the tiniest bit of pressure. And I'm going in circular and windshield wiper motion. I just find that it's the best way to blend out the eyeshadows. And it just gives a nice light wash of color on that crease. And I really take my time blending it in. It just makes everything look smoother and transition better when you have the final product. And now that we have that transition color placed, I'm going to move into the Rosé in the Air palette. And I'm going to pick up one of the other transition shades in this palette, the one all the way in the bottom that's more of a camel color. So I'm going to apply that with a Morphe M511. Let's see. Just has a little bit more of a dome shape, so I can control and really place the product where I want. So I'm going to start off on the outer edge here, and with this product I'm going to start intensifying the outer corner. So let's see here. And I'm just placing the product little by little and really building it up to the intensity that I want. And I'm placing the product just below the other one because I do still want the other shade to show. So it's kind of just going in layers. So I start placing on the outer edge, and then I just start bringing it towards the inner corners of my eyes. It's just that I want most of the product out on the outer edge, so that's where I begin. Right, so as you can see, it just kind of deepens it up a little bit more and gives it a little more dimension. So I'm going to do the same thing to the other eye here. Right, and now I'm going to go into the Comfort Zone palette and pick up the transition shade that's all the way in the bottom. It's more of a purpley brownish shade, and I'm going to apply that on the outer corner as well, but below the other color. I'm going to focus it also a little bit on the outer edges of my lid. And to apply that, I'm going to be using the Morphe 503 brush. So I'm going to dip it in there and kind of swirl it around on the top. I just find that that's the easiest way to blend the product into the brush. Again, starting in the outer corner, really placing the product there and just swirling it around. I am really taking my time doing this because that's where I want that color payoff to be. It's a really pretty color. And once I have really focused the color there, I'll just drag it over to the inner corner, just to make sure the middle of the crease has a little bit of that color as well. And I'm also going to focus this color here in the front. I'm going to make it just a little bit darker as well. So I guess I'm going for a little bit of a halo effect here. Small circular motion, and then just blend it together. Finding that these colors are blending pretty well. Okay, so now I'm going to do the same thing to the other eye. Now I'm going to apply it to the inner corner, and it doesn't matter, I'm just going to blend a little bit towards the lid. We're going to cover it anyways, so I'm just doing it for blending purposes, but I'll be able to cover it up with that lid color that I'll be applying. Okay, and now to kind of just blend everything, I'm going to go into the Morphe 504 brush and just kind of go over the outer edge. Make sure that it's well blended and there's no harsh lines. Okay, so now that that's well blended together, I'm happy with how that looks. I'm going to move on to my lid shade, and I was trying to go for like a light pink look, but I don't really have a very pink color in here, so I think I'm just going to use this champagne color that's in the Rose in the Air palette, and I'm going to mix it with more of a pink shade that is in the Comfort Zone palette, but it's a lot darker than what I want it to be. So I'm probably just going to mix both colors and see how it looks. Right, and to apply it, I'm going to be using a brush from a Beige cosmetic set that I got a really long time ago. I don't really know what it's called, but it's just a flat shader brush pretty much. So I'm going to apply this to the center of my lid, so that space where I left bare. It's actually really light. So I mean, the color is not bad. It's kind of a light pink wash, but it doesn't really look much different from not having anything. So maybe I'll just go into just the pink one, and then if I want to lighten up, I'll try to add the other one on top. Yeah, I think that's better. So the matte shades in this palette are a lot better than the shimmery one. I mean, the shimmery one isn't too bad, but I can definitely tell a difference from the matte shades. But I mean, it's not bad. It still looks pretty. I'll go back into that mauve brown color just to deepen that up and just intensify it again. But I mean, it's not bad. Right, so I'm gonna apply that to the other eye. I'm just gonna do the pink one because I'm pretty sure that's just the one that I want. And I'm going to go in with that light shade just in the very center, just to give it a little bit of pop. Yeah, that definitely makes a pretty big difference. So right in the very center. And I'm going to go ahead and deepen up the outer corner with the same shade, just that really dark purple brown color. And I'm just going to use the same brush, so the M503, to apply it. So again, focus the product on the outside and focus it on the inner corner. Right, and I'm going to go over the crease one more time with that Morphe M504, and just to blend it out, make sure that there is no harsh lines. Okay, so I'm pretty much done with the eyeshadows, so I'm going to move on to eyeliner. And I'm going to be using the e.l.f. eyeliner in black. Let's see if I'm going to have a good wing day today. So I like to start off with the center of my eye and then drag it towards the inside and then work on the actual wing part. Right, so I mean, it's okay. I kind of messed up on the end, so hopefully I'll be able to fix that with concealer. It's really hard to do this and talk. I'm just gonna start off here. And then just connect this out. And then just fill in between those lines. I mean, that's not the worst. Definitely could be better, but let's not try to fix it because that's how you ruin it. So let's see. Right, so now that the wings are done, that's pretty much it for the eye look itself. Well, for the lid area. So now I'm going to work on my under eyes. So I'm going to apply eyeliner, and I'm going to be using the Wet n Wild Color Icon Kohl eyeliner. Let's see if it says a shade. Yes, it's Simma Brown Now. I think just a black is going to be too harsh right now, just because it is day, so I don't want to look crazy right now. Even though this is a little dramatic, but whatever, we're going to work with it. Okay, so I'm going to apply it to my waterline first. And I'm also putting it on my lower lash line, and I'll go ahead and blend that out at the end. Oh my god, it always makes me cry. So let's go on to the other eye. And again, focusing most of the product on the outer edge. I do like that part to be the darkest, and then just kind of give it a light wash in the inner eye. If it comes out a little messy, it's not a big deal because we are going to blend that out with some eyeshadow. Right, and I'm going to go back into the Comfort Zone palette, and I'm going to pick up that mauve color that we place on the inner and outer corner of our eyes. And I'm going to apply that really close to the lash line, pretty much over and a little bit under the eyeliner that I just placed. So I'm going to try to just pack it on. So I'm tapping it in, making sure that I'm placing the product right where I want it. Do the same thing with the other eye here. So just packing it on. And to blend that out, I'm going to go back into the transition shade that we originally used from the Comfort Zone palette. And I'm going to apply that with an M321 brush. So I'm going to lightly blend the shades that I just placed and kind of drag it down just the tiniest bit. I'm not really doing anything too dramatic down there, but I do want to have some color just because I do have a lot of color on the upper lid as well. I'm going to do the same thing to the other eye, so just lightly blending that down. And to finish off the eye look, as far as eyeshadows, I'm going to just highlight my inner corners, and to do that I'm going to go into the Rose in the Air palette and just pick up that one champagne color that I was trying to just lighten up the lid color that I used. And to apply it, I'm going to be using the Morphe M124. So just going to go right into the inner corner. Okay, so it's actually not as intense as I wanted it, so I'm applying some of that Wet n Wild highlighter that I used on my face, and I'm just going over in my inner corner, and I feel like that is just a little bit better. Yeah, that will do. Right, so now I'm going to move on to my eyebrows, and I'm going to be using the e.l.f. brow pencil in the shade Neutral Brown. So I'm just going to comb over my eyebrows, just combing them up here. And I like to start drawing them on the bottom part and then drawing them on the top and then just filling in between. So I'm going to start and then just kind of feathering up. So this is kind of a thick crayon, but I find that it doesn't look too bad. It does look pretty natural and it matches my actual eyebrows pretty good. But I mean, since it is thick, it's not going to give you that really defined tail. But you can always fix that with concealer. And once I draw that in, I do like to comb it and kind of just blend it throughout. And then I'm going to brush my hairs down and try to follow the natural brow line that I have. So my problem area is towards the back, so I definitely just have to draw in a lot there. But I'm going to comb it down just to blend it through. And again, I just do like my little rough draft and then I'll go in with my concealer and really fix it up that way. So I'm going to do the same thing on this side. So I'm going to brush up my eyebrows and underline. And I'm trying to put as little pressure as I can. I don't really like very intense eyebrows. So that's why I also go in and I spoolie them out often. And then same thing, blend it out with the spoolie. So my eyebrows never come out the same, but I mean, that's just a struggle I have to live with. So I'm gonna use concealer to really shape them out. So I'm gonna go into the e.l.f. concealer palette and probably pick up the first shade, which isn't too dark or too light for me. So hopefully you don't see that really harsh concealer line, which I'm honestly not a fan of. Right, and to carve out my eyebrows, I'm going to be using just another brush that I got in that Beige Cosmetics set. It's just a really tiny brush, and I find like that it's the easiest to carve it out. So I like to start here on the little arch and then just go back and try to blend it out as well as I can. And it kind of highlights the brow bone a little bit, so that's a 2-in-1. That's good. I don't really do much with the front part. I just get whatever's pretty much left on the brush from the bottom and then just kind of lightly go through it. And for the tail back here, I just kind of do the tip and I go down, and that's pretty much my brow. Yeah, so I'll just do the same thing on the other eye. So again, I start on the arch of my eye on the bottom part and kind of just brush it back, again very lightly, and then whatever's left over I just go over to the front. The front part is always easier for me just because I don't need a lot of help there. I do have hair, and I'm just gonna go through. Alright, so that's pretty much the eyebrows. So now I'm just gonna go ahead and set them, and to do that I'm gonna be using the Rimmel Brow This Way in the shade medium brown. I don't typically use tinted brow gels, but this is a little lighter than my eyebrows, so hopefully it will just lighten them up a little bit. So I'm just really lightly combing through my eyebrows, just because since it is tinted, it could get on my skin and then it'll leave a stain, and that's just, it's literally the worst. It's like getting mascara on you. So I'm just lightly combing through it. Right, so now we're going to move on to the other eyebrow. This was always harder just because of the way that I angle it, and I guess I put a little more pressure towards the front of the brush, and I'll usually do a little glob in here, so I really try to avoid it, but it just happens. Right, so those are the eyebrows. Again, they never come out the same. Whatever, it is what it is. They don't look bad, they're just not twins, but I guess they're not supposed to be, so that's fine. Right, so I'm going to move on to eyelashes, and I'm honestly debating whether or not to even apply false eyelashes just because those are still pretty tricky for me. I do find that I get enough volume and length from mascara. I haven't really dabbled much in the eyelash world, so we'll see. We'll see how it looks with just the mascara, and then we'll see if I give it a try. And the mascara that I'm using is the L'Oreal Voluminous Carbon Black Mascara. It's honestly my favorite. I don't really like much of the spider web eyelashes, so I feel like this one does a really good job at just separating them and really giving me a lot of volume. So I just start at the base and I kind of just wiggle my way up. And I kind of brush out the edges a little bit towards the side and then try to even it out in the middle. Okay, so as you can see, it does a pretty good dramatic difference. So I think I'm pretty happy with the way they look, so I won't be doing eyelashes today. Maybe on my next video I'll get the courage for that, so we'll see. And I'm going to go ahead and apply it in the bottom eyelashes. Just very lightly, nothing too crazy. And I'm going to go ahead and do the other bottom lash first, just so it doesn't have that much product in there. So that is pretty much the whole eye look. Like I said, it is daytime, so I feel like this is pretty much as dramatic as I'm gonna go today. Also, I live in Miami, so hopefully this lasts. Going to move on to my lips, and that would be it. So, trying to decide what lip color to do. Let's see here. This color is so pretty. Lighten it up. We'll see, I might mix two of them. So I'm going to start off with my lip liner, and I'm going to be using, let's see, the Wet n Wild Perfect Pout Gel Lip Liner in the shade Bare to Comment. Just a really pretty nude everyday lip liner. It's literally like your lips but better. I'm not really going to overdraw my lips. I'm just kind of just going to go through the natural line that I already have. And then shade in the corners and kind of the edges, but leave the middle bare. And let's do the top. Right, and now that my lips are lined, I think I'm going to go ahead and use the Rimmel Stay Matte Liquid Lip Color. And it is in the shade, I think it's the shade Rosetto Liquido, but don't quote me. So it seems like it's a little bit moussey, so we'll see how it looks on. It's a pretty shade. Kind of like a light pinkish nude. I actually really like it. It's kind of really pretty everyday nude, but not too nude, where it kind of just looks like you have nothing on your lips and it makes you look sick. So one thing that I always like to do is just get a tissue paper and kind of just put my lips over it. I don't know, I just feel like it makes my lips look a little more pouty, so that's what I'm going to do now. I feel like it kind of just makes your liquid lipstick last a lot longer, just because if you eat or you drink, you already wiped off the excess, so nothing's going to come off throughout the day. And yeah. Really liking how this is looking. I'm actually really impressed with all the products that I used. So yeah, this is pretty much the finished look right here. I like it. It's that highlighter though. It's blinding. So yeah, I really liked everything that I used. The only thing that I was a little iffy on were the shimmer shades on the Wet n Wild palettes. But the matte shades are really good. I feel like they blended really nice. They have a nice intensity. The color I'm really digging. That's really pretty. Definitely a new combo for me for sure. So yeah guys, this is the finished look. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section. Also, do leave any comment if you do recreate this look, or if there's anything that you liked or you think that I should try. Please let me know down there. And if you like this video, also give it a thumbs up. Also, subscribe to my channel if you guys want to see more videos from me. And I will see you guys on my next video. Bye!